Okay, good evening, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Kim Sola, and I have the co-host here, Oluwatobi Babalola. Thank you so much for joining our architecture series, AI for architecture series. Thank you so much for registering, and we just want to welcome you all once again to another edition of Let's Talk Design. We look forward to impacting you in this session. We look forward to you learning a lot in this session, and we hope that after this session, you will have a lot more insight about AI and architecture. So I would be handing over to Toby to just give a brief introduction about Let's Talk Design to people, for people that don't know what Let's Talk Design is about.
Thank you so much, Benny. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching around the world. I see Moses, I see Praise, Toby. Thank you all. And we have with us Tim. Thank you so much, Benny. So Let's Talk Design is basically a community, a completely informal community, online community to be specific, of designers, creatives, architects, interior designers in the built industry. Because one of the challenges we noticed is, right out of school, it becomes almost like that studio culture is lost. That community, you get into practice, you're constantly trying to work on briefs and projects. But yeah, so Let's Talk Design is basically a community where we have conversations, share resources and ideas. And one of the quotes that drives us at Let's Talk Design is, we don't believe that you have to, finish climbing a certain, level in your career before you let down the rope. So we are of the opinion that while you're still climbing, let's be intentional to let down the rope and share resources, share ideas, and share knowledge. We're completely geared towards helping each other, helping one another grow, reaching out to industry experts, especially for students and practicing architects all around the world. That's what we just started in Nigeria, 2019, to be specific, 6 years ago. And yesterday makes it 6 years, and we're excited about this journey. And thanks to our partners, basically, the vision is we're a thriving global community of architects, interior designers, creatives, where we all learn together, grow together, support one another at every stage of our careers. We envision a built environment shaped by designers from every corners of the world who invest in each other's success and recognize that we achieve more together than we could ever our mission as Let's Talk Design as a community is such that we aim to connect designers at every level across every border by sharing real stories, experiences, and knowledge that matters. And we believe you don't need to wait until you've made it to help others. We challenge each other to become better designers and better people, not through competitions, but through genuine support and collaboration, with honest conversation, shared learning, intentional relationships. We create spaces where every designer, mentors emerging talents, where peers learn from peers, and where everyone's success contributes to the community's growth. It was founded by me and Oluwatobi Babalola in 2019, and it was too much of a dream to handle. I had to invite, three amazing people to join, and here's the face of everyone on the team, Rest of Design. I'm about to love our founding partner, and we have Naomi Cruz, who's a partner, and Daniel Omogbemi, is currently in the UK, is also a partner. And we have Bimisola Samuel, who will be the host for today's event. She's also a partner. And we also have amazing volunteers who have been helping out with our social media posts and a lot of planning and programming is touching this event. So we're excited about what the future holds. And yes, that's basically everything about Let's Talk Design. Thank you. Over to you again.
Thank you so much, Toby, for that. Okay, so we'll be just going to the overview of the session. So everybody here already knows who Tim Fu is, and I'm sure that's one of the major reasons why you registered for this event. And so we just want to thank you once again for registering, for being part of this edition. So I will just be giving a brief summary of who Tim Fu is for people who might not know who he is. So Tim Fu is a renowned designer recognized for his pioneering use of artificial intelligence in architecture. Emerging from the research team at the Architect, he has founded Studio Timfu, a high-tech architectural practice, pioneering in the integration of AI into visionary design. As a prominent voice in the field, his work has been showcased at conferences and exhibitions worldwide. Leading a specialized team of architects, technologists, he undertakes projects around the globe. Through his design and technological insights, Tim has amassed a significant online following, established his influence as a thought industry leader in this industry. So thank you once again for joining. And we already have Tim on the call who is excited to tell us more about architecture and AI and the emergence of both of them. And I'm sure most of us here, whether we're from Nigeria or from different parts of the world, has something to learn from this session. So I'll be handing over to Tim to start.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here and coming to you from London. Let me just go ahead and share this screen. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So we are living in an era today where we could easily sketch out something from an idea in our mind, and through the power of the AI process, we can very quickly transform the idea into realistic visuals to represent the intention. And that means we can also play around at the methodology itself of architecture, exploration, and discovery. For example, crumbling a piece of paper and finding forms through this playful approach is how someone like Frank Gehry did his work as well in his office. So getting inspired by that, I also prompted, for example, Frank Gehry in a prompt to approach this playful architecture and explore how form can be created through obtaining the identity of particular architects. And so that exercise I also explored with Zaha Hadid, I've explored with Daniel Libeskind, and you could start to see the distinctive language, formal language of every single architect and how that can be captured through the text prompt itself. And through this visual process, we could start to implant ideas from just the whimsicality of exploring AI into contextual, site-specific approach and locations. So these are just some of the ideas of how we could begin to think about architecture differently. And now I will start with the origin story of why I began using AI. And many of you might be familiar with this particular logo. This is Midjourney. This is one of the very first AI text-to-image software that came out at the time. And at that time, I was fully an employee at Zaha Hadid Architects. And, it's a very renowned office with defining architectural forms recognized by the world. And so it's a very formally strong approach as an office. And my role inside the office was to rationalize a lot of the geometries that are highly complex into rational, developable, constructible forms ready for fabrication and assembly on site. So I had the background understanding of how to find forms and rationalize them. And it is through that approach that I also approached AI in the same philosophy, is finding the randomness and the chaos and trying to find how to rationalize and obtain results that we can actually utilize in the later stage of design and construction. So one of my early explorations began at finding out what is Zaha Hadid according to the AI. And if you prompt a villa designed by Zaha Hadid, you would get a result rather crazy, I would say, and not so refined. So at this time, I wanted to figure out what we can contribute to this process and improve it, because this is not really representative of Zaha Hadid, in my opinion. So a process of text prompting and prompt engineering is what we call it. We explore different texts to find the optimal approach of visuals. And through the optimal visuals, we can continuously refine until it becomes an iterative process of design where every detail, every junction can be tailored towards a particular aesthetic and strengthened, very much like a traditional architectural process of step by step. So what you can see as an end result compared to what I showed at the beginning is through this exploration and this intentional human-driven process of exploring AI, we can now prompt something a lot more refined and, in my opinion, more representative of something from Zaha Hadid, for example. So that exploration allowed me to further explore how to represent the aesthetics of Zaha Hadid into different architecture approaches. And then I began exploring how to transform architecture through merging the fusion of two different ideas. One, the futurism, the fluidity, and two, the classicism of traditional architecture, which I also highly value. So here's a set where we explore Renaissance architecture mixed with more future fluid aesthetics. And I did the same with, this was Art Nouveau, and also explored Gothic architecture in the contemporary sense. So it was very interesting to see how AI can actually converge two very different timelines into something completely new. And it's the ability that AI can do that allow us to really shop like a shopping cart for different ideas, throw them together into like a pot where you stew, and then let it come out a new result. So this process allowed me to explore in more detail how to break down this architecture into potentially elements that we can construct, starting with the column capital, in which I began to develop into more rational forms, and eventually picked a series where we can develop into technical drawings through visualizing the AI and creating a 3D model and actually interpreting it in 3D space. So I sent these drawings to a collaborator by the name of Till in Germany, who is a master stone craftsman. And he took these drawings and actually managed to use his human handicraft to realize these early AI concepts into reality. So by the end of this process, we ended up getting this unique ability to begin to start an idea from the machine and end the idea and fabrication with humans, which is something not very much possible before AI in such an extent. So it opened the door to a lot of new possibilities of how we can explore and design and also produce. And that dialogue allowed me to really think more deeply about where AI is going to go. So I decided to leave Zaha Hadid Architects to found my own company, Studio Tim Fu, here in London, in order to pursue this goal of pushing this technology a lot further than what it currently is today. And this really is something that I believe is going to be the future, and traditional offices are not really able to adapt as fast as I believe we should. And so we have to push this process ourselves. So to start off, we fundamentally approached recruitment differently. For example, the traditional process of looking at CV and portfolios and finding a candidate was not sufficient for us. We needed to find new era of candidates that can readily adapt on the spot, be able to make very quick problem solving decisions, and show artistic intent in use of AI. So we hosted design hackathons and international competitions, in-house competitions, and eventually we picked out series of candidates from these processes that can readily adapt to AI. Basically, even hand sketching, adapting hand sketching into AI projects and using AI to inform real projects. So that process allowed us to see which candidates can actually think outside the box and basically don't follow the traditional way of doing things and be able to adapt on the spot. So eventually we assembled a very elite team of talents here in London, and we work on various projects globally from small scale to large scale. And so out of the projects, we can share only some of them. And one of them, for example, is our last year's announcement of our Lake Bled project, which is a very unique project that showcases how the early stage of AI we use to actually go from just concept to later stages. So the project itself is located in Lake Bled in Slovenia, which is a very beautiful lake in Europe. And what's unique about the site is that it hosts a lot of these little villas that are of Slovenian heritage. And so there's a lot of vernacular language and preserved heritage. And so that heritage is part of the process that we need to protect. But in the meantime, the client wanted world-class hospitality. So it's kind of like these two very constraining constraints, if you will. They are countering each other, but it's definitely a challenge to use AI in this process. But that's exactly why we believe it was a nice project to showcase as an AI first project, because it's to show how we can work within these constraints. So the process itself, it's a amalgamation of both human design process as well as AI and machine intelligence. So I will go through these step by step, starting with the gathering of data sets. We have a very traditional site, so there's a lot of existing villas, and the ability to just gather and curate a correct data set is already quite critical, because we have to formulate the baseline and find the correct type of architecture that represents the local architecture. So this collection of images is already something that we use to prompt the AI alongside of our own text prompting. So this was 2 years ago. The AI was quite rough, but you can see it was already giving us a lot of ideas. And so through this AI and human text prompting project, we were able to come with a lot of initial preliminary ideas to explore with the client. So this is where the client has to be on board to understand that this is a sketching process. None of these are refined designs, but we were able to lay out solutions both from traditional to contemporary. And from this process, we were able to come up with very distinct ideas that works with the site. For example, taking the vernacular typology of this veranda that always exists in most of these villas and creating a contemporary interpretation of it. And so that led us into designing this idea of opening this veranda up and this balcony feature into a beautiful full double height space that also full glass allows views in from the lake, and you can see a lot more views of the scenery and let the light in, let the daylight in, and create a much more beautiful interior space and experience. So that also gave us the idea of the attic, which was a small attic that can now be expressed through this geometry. So hand sketching will always be part of that process. And through our hand sketch, we also use AI to, for example, apply materials. And this is where the early sketching and exploration process can be accelerated with AI. And through this process, we come up with various sets of ideas in which we develop into 3D models. So here you can see is the later stage 3D model, which is accurately portraying the space and our intentions, which is derived from our initial sketch and ideas. And so with all that being said, the traditional side of architecture also doesn't fade away. We still have to take responsibility in designing the technical planning and spaces. So this is where the architectural background is quite critical. No matter how good you are using AI to make imagery, you have to have the sort of underlying understanding of what is architecture itself. And it is more than just, visuals. It is space planning, it is programming. So that process is a continuous process that we massage into using the AI as a design tool. And on top of that, we also allowed ourselves to explore machine-driven optimization, because for these villas, we were able to create module systems because we had 6 different villas and we wanted different configurations. We said, why not? Let's allow a form of machine intelligence to drive the optimization of the different configurations. So for these villas, we looked at solar radiation, we looked at area efficiency, we looked at window views and path efficiency, things that are really contextually important and sustainably important, and allow that to drive the decision making of what type of configurations we want to put for these different villas that are at different angles. And so that also gave us variations of the villas themselves. And we had 6 villas in total. And the whole process ends up in a 3D model space so that we actually are, conformed to an actual spatially accurate and architecturally resolved result. And so this result as a 3D model finally goes through what I will consider rendering AI process that is very much AI dependent as well. And so that process allowed us to make the AI drawings in which we could formulate different renders. And through this process of rendering itself, we were also exploring the different detail alternatives. So you can imagine this process is never ending with AI. No matter where you are, what stage of development, you could always very quickly explore variations in window details, in balcony details, balustrades, and just to open your self up for different alternatives, all the way to the landscape design, to get the inspiration for you to develop into technical details. And so as a result of this entire process, as you can see, this is an end result of what we curated after this whole process of judging through this AI process. And our interior design as well is developed through the very same process. We've also done the same with the aerial, the master plan, where we also help design the overall landscape to bring all the villas together into a cohesive design. And you got 5 villas linked to a communal villa, with the 6th villa being a heritage villa that already exists on site. So that is a holistic project using this AI process. And that then gets brought onto the later stage of design, which right now is less reliant on AI. And so moving on to a larger scale project, we had this really interesting one with a big company in the Middle East. They are developing a very luxury resort in Marasi, which is the Red Sea side in Egypt. And this particular site, they wanted particular typologies to be worked together into this master plan. So through sketching and developing these ideas, our master planner, we can sketch out a holistic idea, and through the power of AI, very quickly bring this idea into a pre-concept stage. And now what's very interesting about this project is we developed this entirety without the use of 3D modeling at all. At the early pre-concept stage, Middle Eastern client, we had a lot of, we had a very tight timeline and a lot of ambitions. So using AI for this purpose was very effective in showcasing the architectural intent and vision without going into too much technical detailing, as we didn't need to at this stage. So AI came in very handy to be able to develop a full package of design intent. So with today's ability with AI, we could do daytime, nighttime view, and different angles with accuracy. So here I can showcase, this would be the end results of what you get after the process we make into video. And we wanted to showcase what realism, oops, I think it just fast forwarded. Let me see if I can share, yeah, let me just fast forward again. So a lot of this projects we're doing is also getting into the world of rendering and marketing, because at the end of the day, a lot of design projects are also marketing material. So we can overlap into that side of the world and work on production. And a lot of architecture at the end of the day is about the user experience. So we always tell the story through, the people that are there. And with a focus on realism, to focus on storytelling, we wanted to give the experience of being there as the user. And so that is something we can do readily with any projects at any scale. Of course, this was the technology as it was 1-2 years ago. And even within these 1-2 years, I can say that, it's so much more accurate than how we used to design these. You can still tell there's a lot of AI elements in a lot of these renders. So at some point, we have decided to also expand on our office and divide it into different departments. So we have our main architectural design studio, and research is at the forefront of our firm. So we have a separate research team that are dedicated to AI research nonstop. And we also have a small support team of AI visualizers. So they are a powerhouse of human artist talents that can readily visualize rapidly with AI. So it's these teams that work together that allow us to create the synergy we have today. At STF Labs, for example, we also develop applications. Here you can see one of our early prototypes working with NVIDIA and Microsoft. We have developed a lot of these interesting software apps where we could prompt some ideas and filter out real life content into something that we have prompted. For example, changing the facade design, looking at an object or a model and giving it details. So while this was still at a very early stage of design, at the early stage of development, we believe that this is a technology that has a lot of future and we invest in it. Same thing with the use of virtual reality in design. For example, we like to model things in 3D space, and the ability to use AI to readily interpret that into an AI rendered reality gives us a very quick idea of what something might look like if you were to design in 3D space directly. And ultimately, one of our biggest move is using AI in urban design. And we have worked on this new concept of using large language model in urban configurator. We're calling it Urban GPT at the moment, but the idea is to create a configurator where you can just ask for anything and it'll generate. So this was like the prototype from last year, where you say add a skyscraper, an office to the river, and it's going to give you something like that. You're going to say create a suburban district in the southeast corner, and it gives you that. If I say I want to create a linear gradient from left to right, then it gives you that. So it's kind of like using natural English language, and you can say anything you want and allow the AI to sort of interpret it in its own way. So here we created a central park. And so it kind of allows you to distribute programs according to your needs. And everything is in the technical 3D space. So you have calculations of all the different GFAs and required units. And at the same time, we also began connecting a AI renderer that is live, that reacts to this particular project as well. So what we can get is also a quick view of what the atmosphere might look like as a quick render. So this is still in development, and it's been advancing quite interestingly. And so we believe in the long run that these type of top-down tools will take over the architecture design and urban design space. So it's one of the very interesting aspects of what we're trying to do here with AI. Other than that, you can see AI also, for example, in coding. Like we could, for example, code something like this, which is something using just vibe coding. So we don't actually use the code ourselves. We say we want an idea, and we allow vibe coding to create parametric logic for us using completely AI to do so. And finally, in terms of master plan optimization, it's a great time to also use machine learning tools to optimize parameters in what would rather be a huge data set. For example, in urban design, there's so many things to consider, from the sightlines of the towers to the sunlight exposure to pedestrian flow to park connectivity to amenity access. All these things could be driving parameters for making urban decisions. And as you know, any human have only a limited capacity in balancing different quantifiable values. However, AI can do all of them at once. So the underlying philosophy is for us to allow AI to comprehend the world, to make decisions more comprehensively, more than any human can, because of our biological limitations. So that is the driver of what we are doing in research. And in visualization is an interesting process as well, because our visual team has their own workflow. And this workflow is based off of accuracy and realism. So not necessarily the exact same as exploration and design, but what we can do is, explore different themes, different atmosphere environments, and also render time lapses, and basically explore the narrative, the story of representing architecture, which is an art form in itself. And so you can see a lot of the things we're doing here is on the creative side as well of visualization. For example, we have developed this Living Sketches series where we wanted to represent architecture in a new light, in a playful and fun way that isn't traditional to a classical rendering. So here we, for example, developed a set inspired by Gaudi's works, but represented through sketches and moving sketches. You can see it's a very fun process and very fun way to show architecture. And projects like this ended up catching a lot of attention globally, and we've actually gotten to get in contact with the Gaudi Foundation because of this particular project and began collaborating with them. So it's a very, very interesting process that opens new doors for us. And we are very inspired to continually explore new ways of approaching architecture and visualization through AI. Because at the end of the day, AI is a door that opens to many possibilities, and you could do so much. And it requires a lot of exploration to find a new way. For example, our visualization team, we do generative AI, just completely creating ideas. We do rematerialization, retexturing things from sketches and from 3D models. We stylize architecture in a specific way to optimize the design as well as the atmosphere. Our animation is completely done through AI as well. Of course, you guys know today we have a lot of image to AI rendering softwares that can readily develop so many cool sketches and animations for you. And of course, traditional photoshopping to refine things in the process. And we take on every single frame of cinema like it's a painting, so that all of our scenes are really well curated. And of course, we optimize everything for social media, as this is the new world where digital social media plays an important part in architecture and marketing. And so that's absolutely something that we have to keep on track with. And here, just to conclude the session, I want to showcase, something else that we've been doing on the side, just calm architectural renderings and do more storytelling, helping other architecture firms as well, because it is a fun, a very creative and educational process to collaborate with other architects as well, and show architecture storytelling in a very um, different cadence and a different speed and pace, and to really showcase what's the possibility AI can do for us. And I think looking at some of what we're doing more recently, we are really approaching the real possibility of completely replacing the traditional process of filmmaking, of traditional rendering process. I think a lot of traditional office that are doing renderings through ray tracing, through video ray tracing, those days are very numbered, as what we can do is similar in realism, similar in quality, which is something that's continually improving. And that at some point will overtake the traditional process. Because if we can produce just as good quality, but at a fraction of the speed and cost, then this will inevitably be the future of architecture, design, and visualization. So we are facing a very real transformation in our industry. And there is not a single day that go by where we don't continually question where we are going forward, what research we should do next, because we have to think on our feet. Every day the technology is changing and evolving. And so if you're in the architecture and design industry, it's inevitable for you to be face to face with the rapid advancements of such technologies. And so you do have to ask yourself, what are your current values as a designer, as an architect? What are the elements that are going to be replaced by this very accelerated process of AI production? But then again, what are the values you innately have as humans, which are irreplaceable by AI itself? And learn to work with that to your strength, and to work with AI in a way that augments the human strength, but also takes advantage of the technology itself. Because it is not a thing of tomorrow, it is a thing of today. And companies around the world are all using AI to a certain extent. So that being said, I hope everyone got a good overview of where AI is going. And of course, I'm open to questions and happy to answer more specifics. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for this beautiful presentation. Like, it's very insightful. Okay, so before we start taking questions, I know a lot of us have questions.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go on.
Okay. Yeah, I can say thank you so much for your presentation, Tim. It was very insightful. Okay, I can see a lot of people raising up their hands, but before we take questions, we'll just ask one question from our end. So Toby, can you just ask a question before we start telling the audience to ask theirs? And if you can write your question in the comment section, please do so.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Game, that was exceptional, to be honest. It was mind blowing. I didn't know what that like. Honestly, that's an impressive work your team is really doing, and I really salute your courage and the boldness. It takes a lot to push this frontier to pioneer, AI in this way. The only question I feel that we have, that I have, that I feel like most people might be curious about, is in terms of specific tools, used to generate some of these ideas from the Lakehead project, in terms of, while we know that there are many AI tools out there, we would really appreciate if you could be more specific on some of the tools, because, and then along the way, I also noticed that you use Rhino and Grasshopper scripting for the Urban GPT, which is also very interesting. And what other generative AI tools do you use? So I mean, this will help the community in terms of, learning vision for the future, so that we as a community be able to channel our energy towards knowing the right tools, to learn and all that. Yeah, I think that would be one question that I feel like everybody would be happy to
Yes,
know about. Thank you.
absolutely. So there's two answers, because first of all, there are several tools that we do use frequently, but they are constantly changing and evolving. But I can say that, for example, for visual exploration, we still use a bit of Midjourney, as many people have used in the past. We're now using a lot more Nano Banana. As you guys hear, it's a very powerful tool from Google and Gemini that uses very context-aware AI to make edits and spatially aware AI visualization. And for, I would say for video, we use right now still top of the game is Google Veo, Veo 3, and Kling. And I am aware that recently there's a lot more Chinese developed AIs that are catching up rapidly. So our team is exploring that in the meantime. But the overall gist of it is we actually have switched our tools multiple times from, the 2 or 3 years that we've been working. And it's really more important to know what tools to look out for in the future, because it is changing. And depending on when you ask me, the answer will differ. So I think it is more important to let you guys know, for example, that we have AI leaderboards. If you look up AI text to image leaderboard, you will start to see which ones are top. If you look at image to video AI leaderboard, you will also see that every week, every month, the ranking changes depending on the development. So it is more critical for me to let you guys know that these companies are constantly competing. Both large language model as well as image models, they're all gonna keep competing and improve. So it's not about a particular one software now, but it's about knowing where to look. So keep an eye out on the leaderboard and just be very updated, because our team as a research, especially our research team, their responsibility is to come back every week and, update us and say, oh, we found something new. And that's what's really fun about our office. We're just working someday and one of our researchers will tell us, hey guys, have you seen this? It does this. And all of a sudden our whole team is using it next week. So we're very rapid in the way we adapt to the change of tools. And I think the ability to rapidly change, it's more important than to know a specific tool per se. And so just keep yourself very updated is my key takeaway.
Thank you so much, team. Thank you very much. Now I'll hand over to Benny to take the questions in other how people's hands are raised. And then we also have a question from Naomi in the text box. So over to you, Benny. Benny, can you hear me?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ting and Sylvie, for that. Okay, so because of time,
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. It's breaking up.
Yeah, I think from my end as well too. Yeah. Yeah, your audio and video is breaking. We're struggling to hear you. Yes, we can still hear you. Tim, can you hear actually?
I can hear you clearly, but not her. I think it's been very choppy.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, we can hear you. But
Yes.
Yeah, go. Okay. So if I'm correct, maybe there are 3 hands raised, if I'm correct. So we have Daniel, Um, Followed by, I can't see my screen, but Daniel, let's take your questions while we try and figure out the next person. Thank you. Daniel, over.
Okay, awesome. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, team. Oh, sorry, afternoon. Um, and I think while you were speaking, I think something really came out to me. You talked about your role while you were at Zaadid, how you were rationalizing complex building forms. So I wanted to ask, what are the best approaches to rationalizing complex building forms? The reason why I ask this is because I'm currently doing an MA in University of East London. I don't know if you know Fulvio West. It was Fulvio. It was also an ex did. He currently is currently my tutor at the moment in London. And many of my questions because basically what we do is just parametric designs for the most part, just understanding Zara did for the many things that we do using a lot of. It has also encouraged a lot of AI. But because I am from Africa, and my desire for the most part is to see how to incorporate the things that I've seen in the Western world and bring it over to Africa and see how we can incorporate it. It has always been my question: how do you rationalize these complex building forms? What are the best approaches to sort of deconstruct the ideas of complex building forms and approach it properly for construction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the ultimate questions that we ask ourselves when we're rationalizing anything. So, in Zaha Hadid, usually a lot of people design things very sculpturally at the beginning, really to say, be very straightforward. A lot of the team use Maya. A lot of the team use mesh type of approximation to create just general ideas. And our goal is to take the idea and understand what is the underlying geometric rationalization. So where you can repeat panels, where you can create modularity, where you can reduce the amount of bespoke special panels that needs to be produced. That's saving on costs, that's saving on time and ease of fabrication. So that is a very much a question also tied to what is a fabrication method and what is your local process. So, for example, I've seen some projects by Foster and Zaha in parts of Africa where we use compressional structures, use a lot of earth and soil, and that sort of allows another school of thoughts where you think about compressional structures in terms of the modularity and what do you call high performance geometries. And so what type of geometry is optimized for compressional loading? And then from there, you understand what is the material property, how big are the modular panels that this particular city in Africa, for example, can produce, and then use that as a constraint to then take the form and optimize the form. So what is the best form is one question in terms of performance and also in terms of fabrication. And then how do you break the form up into components? And how do the components connect? So I think that's mostly like a universal question if we're talking about, bespoke geometries and non-repeating geometries. Because yes, as Al Hadid, we use parametric design a lot more because traditional modeling and structural design does not resolve the complexity that lies within structures and geometries that are non-uniform. So it does open the door to a lot of things by using parametric design. So, it's great if you are going to continue pursuing that path because you are allowed to so much more possibilities with the use of parametric in design. And also, of course, we're in the world of AI now, so that can further push that process.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask again. I'm equally in London. This is not a pitch to get employed. I'm just saying, is it okay to come in sometime? Because it's just interesting to see how you use AI, and it looks like, your company is probably in the front lines, and it will be the best thing to actually do. Is it okay to come in sometime in London here?
Why don't you shoot me an email and then we can connect from there. You can find it on my website. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thanks, Dave. So moving on to the second question, Femi Akonji, please just introduce yourself in 1 minute. Tell us if you can share a video. That would be very fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Although I joined in the middle of the presentation, but
Sorry, I think I'm having trouble hearing.
Same here. Hi, Femi. Please, could you type in your questions? We're having challenge here, and there's a bit of background noise. Could you type in your question, and then I'll read it?
Sorry. I'm actually in the car. How
Yes.
is it better now?
Yes, please
Yeah,
go ahead.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So thank you very much for the presentation. Although I joined in the middle of the presentation, but it was really an insightful one. Okay. So I just want to ask two questions. I don't know if that had been addressed in it before I came in. I don't know if there's time enough for you to tell us more about your workflow. On how your workflow to the final step, how you get to, because somebody has already asked the question on what kind of AI models you use and all that. That's my first question. Now the second one is, in my studio, we've been exploring the use of different AIs, but one of the challenges we face is, okay, so we use Sora for Majorly, which is, I think, is an offshoot of OpenAI. And one of the challenges we faced is that once you give a prompt and you get a particular visual, and then you are trying to make a modification on a particular part of the visual, and you put in this maybe a corrective prompt, by the time you be getting your next image, is going to be different from the image you had initially. So I don't know if you really experienced something in this line, and how have you been able to navigate through the issue of prompting when you prompt to get your images. So that's my question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's a lot of things to go through. I don't know if I can wrap it all together in one answer, but the idea is our workflow is constantly adapting to the technology at hand. And if we're talking about how to, work on a particular process, I can briefly sum it up in, first there is the design exploration stage, in which accuracy is not important. So I don't know if you missed the part on the Lake Bled Villas, for example, but the idea is we begin by exploring possibilities. It's almost like sketches, it's almost like Pinterest and mood boarding. You start to gather the ideas in different sections, and then you put it all together and you develop a 3D model, and the 3D model is accurate, so you trust that. And that's a traditional architectural process. And from there, you develop the 3D model into AI renders. This is where you bring in accurate renders in place. So for example, Nano Banana today is already a powerful tool which all of you guys can use, where you can take in a screenshot of Rhino and ask it to apply the correct materials. And because Nano is so accurate, you could actually say, I want to have this material, I want the walls to have this material, I want it during a sunset, I want it to have this many people. And so with a technology like that, you could also continually to iterate on top of the image until it becomes a final resolved version. And so that's enough for you to take onto a resolved stage where your render represents your intention and your 3D model represents the spatial reality. So I think that's already today's tool that we have already available for everybody to achieve what is necessary to accomplish, a finalized architectural design and visualization. And furthering into that is just details into resolving technical, and all that does not require you to have such a, accurate visualization package after the process. So I think it's enough for us already to develop into the latest stage.
Thank you so much, team. Toby Samuel, your question, please. Introduce yourself briefly, and within 1 minute, please ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really love the presentation. It was very insightful. But my question, I think Femi just asked on now, that the workflow that you use. But my second question is, for all this AI, is there a platform where we can know, like you said, we should check for like the latest one? There are some rankings. Is there a platform where we can know to get which is the latest AI to use, so that we can improve on that? We won't stay on one AI for long, to know the best just a platform where we can get mostly everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically what I would do is just Google, for example, best or just text to image AI leaderboard. And for example, there's a few websites that I trust, like Hugging Face is one of them. Their leaderboard is very good. I will paste it into the message channel so you guys can have a look at, you know, what exactly is there. And if you click on the text to image leaderboard, you can see, and let me just also share screen since we're just talking about it. Yeah, you go into text to AI leaderboard, it puts everything into the list here. So currently, text to image accuracy wise, OpenAI GPT image 1.5 is the highest right now. But personally, as we explore, every AI has different personalities. So we prefer, for example, using Nano over GPT model, but sometimes you can use Flux and Seedream as well. And so they are all competing day to day. And here is where you can try them out. I would also just recommend trying all of them out because we use 2 to 3 different AI image models in one project at a time because I feel it's kind of like having a team of designers with different personalities. Each are good at something. So we do have to bounce back and forth. And after you have the design, there's also, for example, upscalers, and the different upscalers also have different personalities. So that process is a continuous one. And once you get to be very familiar with these design tools, you will be able to formulate your own methodology. I think that's more important than following a particular one because we ourselves don't confine to a particular methodology. It is about just exploring the tools and adapting to it.
Thank you so much, Tim. That's a very fantastic resource you shared. Very well, very well. Good question, Toby. So the next question by Joseph, I think I'll just ask. He already typed the question in the chat box. He says, what are the friction points of AI use? Is this approach BIM compliant? And what's the next problem AI should solve?
Sorry, can you come again?
Yeah, Joseph, go ahead, please.
Like shed some more light. So the first question I'm asking is, what do you feel are the friction points in using AI?
Mhm.
What are the points you're having an issue with? I have 3 questions. Second question is it BIM compliant? Because I could hear you talking about tools like Grasshopper and Rhino, and I'm well aware that the industry standard for BIM, COBie, data, and stuff like that is Revit. And on the BIM compliance, is really pointing at the pre-existing problem. We understand that AI is a solution to a problem. And the problem we are really facing with construction is the efficiency of buildings, the whole life cycle efficiency, the energy ratings. And how does all of this also comply with that already? Because we already have a problem we're trying to solve. And the third question would be, what is the next step you feel for AI? What's the next problem you think AI should solve?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great question that encompasses kind of like the trajectory of our research, actually. So, currently, I think I can answer all of them in one big sort of breakdown. Right now, AI has current strengths and weaknesses. The strengths that we found currently in the last 2-3 years is in the visual model. And this has spurred a huge renaissance, if you will, a huge revolution in the early design to early conceptualization stage. And that has really enabled us to do so much designs very quickly and explore and make very smart decisions in design. And how it's going to adapt into the construction phase and the technically accurate phase into later stage and performance, it will at some point have to rely on form of BIM modeling, as you said. And I do believe that's the future. I've actually been on a lot of these panels with a lot of startup teams that are working with AIs that are going into BIM. I personally haven't seen any particular one that have really closed the gap between the two. I think we are, as an industry, developing towards that direction, and we are keeping our eyes on it very precisely. For example, our current endeavor working with Urban GPT model is to try to bring in the spatial intelligence and accuracy from large language model, so it can prompt something high technical that can then be later exported to BIM. But right now, there's a sort of still a breakdown between the architectural and AI design space and the BIM compliance and accuracy stage. So I do think that's going to be the next problem that AI will solve. And we are living through a visual renaissance right now, a visual revolution. And large language model is going to be the thing that's going to take it to the technical revolution. And if you look at currently, there's a lot of other large language model that are not just purely language-based model, but spatial intelligence models. I'm looking towards those and waiting for them to be developed more so that we can carry it on to the later stage. And of course, it's a continual process. We're not there today, but it's going to completely revolutionize everything once that model comes out. Meaning, I foresee that we will be able to design something and very quickly get all the technical and construction details, understand what is the budget, understand what is the economic aspects of it, as well as the sustainability aspects, how well it performs in the environment, and then make visual decisions, human heritage decisions, cultural decisions, while the AI makes all the technical optimizations for you. So I believe that to be the future, so that we don't have to manually go through the technical development phase and the BIM phase. I'm feeling that's all very engineering-oriented decisions that can very much be engineered into the AI itself, so that we remain as the leader in the design space. So I'm hoping to see that development in the future. And it's a very interesting, question to ask, because we constantly ask ourselves that, and we'll just have to wait and see as the technology develops.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim. While we have
Okay,
about-
Toby, I'm
Yes.
sorry. You have to round up. Can you hear me, Toby?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, so so sorry everyone. We have to round up now. You can follow Tim on the social media pages to get more insights on what he's doing. So Tim, can you just tell us more about your social media pages where we can follow you to get more information about what you do?
Thank you. I couldn't hear everything, but
So she was saying we will no longer be able to take any more questions, but that for those who still have questions, they could follow you on your social media page. So could you share some more information on where you can be reached so that some of these questions can be asked first?
yes, I think mostly if you're interested about following our design and our developments, we could follow, for example, my personal and the studio's Instagram, which I will put here. And as well, you can search our company up on LinkedIn, and also me on LinkedIn, which we also, under the same name, obviously, where we showcase sometimes the technical workflows and how we're developing these projects into the later stage. And it'll be very interesting to follow how, a full AI process can construct an actual building. And so we're announcing a lot more things later on. And finally, there's also my website that we could showcase. It's just some of the projects we're currently working on in basic detail without revealing any non-disclosures. We are a very interesting office right now because we have quite a lot of projects as a small team, but at the same time, we have a lot of non-disclosure signed. So we're at the stage of this office where we're about to launch all these projects, but waiting for the right time and waiting for the projects to develop. So if you guys stay in touch and have a look, we're going to see a lot of interesting things.
Thank you so much.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. So please can you also social media handle in the chat, so you can also follow us and get more updates on our next session. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you so much, team.